Tip number 1 is to always keep a swim speed potion in your inventory. The reason is not what you think. When taking a boat between the two continents, it can rarely happen that you will get a transfer aborted, instance not found, which will drop you in the middle of a fatigue zone. Now, if your Hearthstone is off cooldown, you can just use that. If it is on cooldown, however, a swim speed potion might just make the difference to save you. What I just mentioned is not the only way to end up in the middle of an ocean, so definitely do spend a small amount of silver. It may be the difference between life and death. Tip number 2 is not to put your Hearthstone in Stormwind as Alliance or Orgrimmar as Horde. While it might be convenient to have your Hearthstone in those locations, there is a non-zero chance that you could instantly die after Hearthstoning. One of the many reasons for this is the burning adrenaline debuff from the Blackwing Lair. This is a raid mechanic on Veilstras which instantly one-shots everybody around the affected player after 20 seconds. The way people deal with this debuff in the raid is that they Hearthstone with it, since it also makes your Hearthstone instant, and the act of Hearthstoning removes the debuff. However, it only removes the debuff after the loading screen has finished loading. That means that if the person gets stuck on the loading screen for whatever reason, it will still one-shot everybody in the inn. This has happened multiple times in Hardcore WoW's history. Apart from this, I am aware of at least 2 other methods of griefing people in Hardcore in the capital city's inn, the details of which I will not spread for obvious reasons. You will be much safer if you put your Hearthstone somewhere else. Tip number 3 is to check your subscription time. If your subscription runs out, you are going to disconnect from the game, possibly without warning. This is exactly what happened to me, even though I had a recurring subscription. Luckily I survived. Checking the status of your subscription only takes a couple minutes, and it might save your life. Tip number 4 is to always have a couple of snowballs on you. Snowballs have a very interesting interaction, and that is that they momentarily stun the player that they hit. This particular stun has a very interesting property. It stops any horizontal and vertical movement momentarily. This means that it can be used to stop knockback mechanics. Most importantly, it can be used to prevent fall damage, as the stun stops the fall and resets the height the game considers you to be falling from. Be very careful though, as the snowballs only work this way in instances. Tip number 5 is to stay away from the walls in Sunken Temple. They are incredibly buggy. You will fall through the texture and to your death. The instance is deadly in many other ways, so this is definitely a dungeon I would skip on Hardcore, unless I was going for the challenge. Tip number 6 is to click off your maximum health buffs if there's less than 5 minutes left. There are 2 types of buffs that increase your health in World of Warcraft, and each type behaves differently when it is removed or expires. The first type are buffs that increase your stamina. These are okay to keep, as when they expire, you only lose the maximum health. The second type, however, are buffs that increase your maximum health specifically. When those buffs expire, you lose both maximum health and your current health. If this happens in combat, you could be left wondering what the hell just happened. The concerned buffs are Elixir of Fortitude, Warchief's Blessing, and Flask of the Titans. The most important one to consider is Warchief's Blessing, as many Horde players will have this at low level. Click it off when it's close to expiring, so it does not catch you off guard. Tip number 7 is to use as few add-ons as possible, and preferably none at all, at least outside of raids. The reason for this is that add-ons are essentially third-party code that is running in your WoW client. Now, unless you check the source code yourself, you do not know if it is error-free, and even if it was error-free, Blizzard has merged the classic and retail code bases for both the server and the client, as explained in this post on X from a Blizzard developer. This may cause patches to break the API spontaneously, and cause errors in the add-ons that worked fine the previous day. Add-on errors may cause FPS spikes, lock you out of performing certain actions, or even cause you to disconnect. Not to mention, add-ons can also significantly slow down your loading screen. This can mean the difference between life and death if you are logging in after a surprise disconnect. Overall, the simpler your UI is, the less points of failure there are. The game is simple enough, no need to be running more code than Apollo 11 was when it landed on the moon. Tip number 8 is specific to Aldaman. There is a spot where many groups swipe, often featured in hardcore moments. This happens when the Ancient Stonekeeper boss is pulled with one or more of the Stone Steward adds. This is because the combo of the silence from the boss and the stun from the ad is very deadly. However, what if I told you that there is a way to guarantee a safe pull every time? There are 3 Stone Stewards in the room, and they patrol around. First, enter the boss room from the southeast and kill the 2 stewards that patrol in that part of the room. Most groups get this part right. What almost everybody gets wrong though, is the last steward, which patrols near the boss. If you pull him while he's near the boss, which most groups do, you will end up pulling the boss as well, and putting your group in a bad spot. What you should actually do is walk all the way around and go through the northwestern passage into the boss room. That's where you can pull the last stone steward safely while he is separated from the boss. Now the worst thing that can happen is that you will pull a few non-elite dwarfs with the boss, which is not a problem. Tip number 9 is Flask of Petrification usage in the outer world. Since it does not work the same way as it would in an instance, where you leave the group and get ported out, many people just resort to Petri Alt F4. This does not guarantee safety though, as it would in an instance. It might take over 60 seconds for your character to disappear from the outer world after an Alt F4. This is longer than what it would take in an instance. One of my characters died this way. He stayed in the in-game world for over 75 seconds after a Petri Alt F4. The best way to use a Petri in the outdoors is to literally just log out after you use it. This macro may help. Tip number 10 concerns Kel'Thuzad. Not many people make it here, but those who do are absolutely terrified of this one mechanic. That mechanic is Frost Blast. This is a 4-second stun over the duration of which you lose 104% of your maximum health. The reason why it is so terrifying is that you have basically no agency over your survival. You can't use immunities to break out of it, you cannot Petri out of it, and frost resistance doesn't work on it. Basically, you rely on your healers completely. You have to be topped to full health before it goes off, and you have to receive healing during it to survive. Or do you? What if I told you that there is actually a way to survive this mechanic without receiving any healing during the stun, as long as you are topped beforehand? Since the damage ticks do not snapshot your max health in the beginning, but are rather calculated independently for each tick, you can play the algorithm to your advantage. The way you do this is that you cancel your stamina buffs after the first tick. Remember trick number 6 in this series? Removing stamina buffs specifically lowers your maximum health, not your current health. So let's do a little bit of a simulation. For the sake of simplicity, let's say you have 10,000 health. Normally, Frost Blast would do 4 ticks of 2,600, killing you. To simulate the trick, let's say you cancel 1,500 of health worth of stamina buff. So, after the first tick, you are down to 7,400 health. This is 74%. Next, you cancel 1,500 health worth of stamina buffs before the next tick. This puts you down to 8,500 maximum health, which puts you back up to 87% health. The ticks are now only going to do 2,210 damage each, so instead of dying, you will survive with 770 health. You will have to use a macro for this. Here is one that you can use. Just remember that removing maximum health buffs will not work. It has to be stamina buffs. Hey, I'm a Cope, the Warcraft VTuber. I mostly stream, but once in a while I make a video just like this one. I would appreciate it if you could check out my other content right there and my stream right there. I stream both on YouTube and Twitch, so pick whatever you prefer. Alright, that's it. See you in the next one.